We'll now turn to Farhana Khera. Ms. Khera is the President and Executive Director of Muslim Advocates in San Francisco, California. Muslim Advocates is a national legal advocacy and educational organization dedicated to promoting freedom, justice, and equality for all, regardless of faith, and serving as a legal resource to promote the full and meaningful participation of Muslims in American civil life. Prior to her work with Muslim Advocates, I was lucky enough to have Ms. Khera on my Constitution Subcommittee staff here in the Senate. Ms. Khera and I worked together for 6 years, and I am indebted to her for her work and advocacy on issues ranging from the Patriot Act to racial profiling to women's rights, and the record should reflect that she is a wonderful person and was a wonderful staff member. I'm pleased to have her back in the Senate, if only for the morning. Ms. Khera, you may proceed.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman, and especially for those very kind words. I don't think I would have imagined myself being on this side of the dais during those 6 years. Mr. Chairman, Senator Brownback, good morning. On behalf of Muslim Advocates, I am pleased to share with you the experiences of Muslim, Arab, and South Asian Americans returning home from international travel. The Department of Homeland Security and Customs and Border Patrol have an important duty to protect our borders. The American people, including Muslim Americans, rightfully expect these agencies to protect us from those who would seek to enter to do us harm. But at the same time, we expect our nation's border policy to be sound. It should be rational, fair, and effective. Complaints from Americans traveling overseas received by Muslim advocates and other civil rights groups, however, suggest otherwise. These Americans report that at airports and border crossings, after they have verified their identity and described the purpose of their travel, they've been subjected to more intensive scrutiny, all without any reasonable suspicion that they were engaging in criminal activity. These experiences involved not only searches and seizures of laptops, cell phones, and digital cameras, but perhaps even more troubling, questions about First Amendment protected matters. Mr. Chairman, my written testimony sets forth a number of these complaints, but this morning I'd like to share with you 2 of them. The first is that of an executive vice president of a major high-tech firm in the greater Seattle area. He is a husband, father of 3, and a business leader who has helped drive innovation in our country. He has also been a community leader, having established a mosque and spearheaded interfaith activities with Christian and Jewish communities. He has testified before Congress on IT issues, was recognized by the Interfaith Alliance, and is proud to call America home. He travels frequently due to the demands of working for a global company. Since early 2007, on at least 8 occasions, he has been subjected to invasive and intensive questioning, searches, and seizures upon his return home from travel to various countries, including Japan, Canada, Turkey, the UK, and Europe. CBP agents have interrogated him about the names, birth dates, and addresses of family members living abroad and in the U.S., which mosque he attends, and his activities on behalf of a lawful Muslim charitable organization he helped establish near his home. CBP agents have also searched his cell phone, made copies of various documents on several occasions, and extensively searched his belongings as well as those of family members traveling with him. Mr. Chairman, the second story is that of a young corporate lawyer, a graduate of Georgetown University Law Center, and currently practicing with a prominent law firm on the West Coast. She, in many ways, embodies the American dream. The child of immigrants from Pakistan, she grew up in the northern Central Valley of California. She worked hard, went to top schools, and has established herself with a stable career, making her family proud. This spring, she took a trip to Pakistan to visit her relatives. On her return, which was a 20-plus hour trip via East Asia to San Francisco, she was exhausted from the long travel and frustrated after learning that the airline had lost one of her bags. After she presented her passport and verified her identity, she nevertheless was pulled aside and her remaining bags were searched. The CBP agent took her digital camera, viewed its images, and asked her to identify the people photographed. Her camera included photos of her mother during her travel overseas, as well as photos taken of her family and friends while she was in the U.S. The CBP agent also saw a book in her bag on one of the presidential candidates, and then proceeded to ask her views of the candidates in this year's race. We have reason to believe that these stories are not isolated, but rather suggest a troubling pattern of targeting Americans who are Muslim or of Arab or South Asian descent? If so, that would be wrong and a violation of the equal protection guarantees of our Constitution. These experiences also suggest that CBP's power at the border is overly broad and its practice and policies ineffective. I think we can all agree that neither the corporate vice president nor the young lawyer pose a threat to our security nor engaged in wrongdoing. So why were these Americans stopped? How is CBP power being used? These and other questions must be answered. DHS and CBP have a critical responsibility to protect our nation's borders. At the same time, these agencies, which have been granted enormous power by the American people, have an obligation to wield that power consistent with the rights and protections guaranteed by the Constitution to all Americans, regardless of faith, ethnicity, or race. And Congress must ensure that they do so. I refer the subcommittee to my written testimony for specific recommendations for steps Congress can take. Mr. Chairman, thank you for the opportunity to present the views of Muslim advocates and for holding this hearing. I look forward to your questions.
Thanks so much, Ms. Khera.